Okay, hello everybody. We are going to go over the West Michigan Regional Exclusive Buyer Agency contract. And this is going to be helpful for any realtor in the real estate industry who either has been doing it and is not used to explaining it, has just started explaining it because of all of the rules that have passed with NAR, or just to freshen you up or get you used to the document. So you'll first start with this agreement is made between, and that would be your client's name and, your brokerage. And then once you do that, and oops, there we go. So we're going to go. Now we have that. Now, number one, general description of property. The buyer wishes to purchase real property, which may include items of personal property having the following general description and location. So this can be very property specific. So this could be like 123 Main Street in Hastings, Michigan. This could also be any property in West Michigan. You could put counties or cities, or you could put Michigan, like me. I just put Michigan because I'm licensed in Michigan and Texas. So that is what I am willing to sell in. Number two, agency. The buyer hereby appoints broker as buyer's exclusive agent to locate property and to present offers on the buyer's behalf to sellers of property for its purchase, exchange, or option on terms and conditions having the prior approval of buyer during the term of this agreement. Buyer agrees to work exclusively with broker during the term of this agreement by A, exclusively allowing broker to locate property for buyer and to present and negotiate offers on the buyer's behalf, or B, referring to broker any information about properties buyer has located or inquiries received in any form from any other real estate broker, salesperson, prospective seller, builder, or any other source during the time this agreement is in effect. Now, this can be so many things, but ultimately it is, I'm going to just quick lock the door because I know that we've got a toddler running around out there. It's locked now. That way he can jingle on it if he wants to. So we have a working virtual brokerage, which means that our brokerage is virtual. We do everything virtually. However, we are also, I love having agents over. So sometimes we bring babies, and that is great. I also have 2 children that run around. Now, going into number 3 is term. The status of broker as buyer's agent shall commence on, let's just say, we're going to put the date in for today. So we're going under contract with our buyer today. And then it depends. Is it 6 months from now? Put the 6-month date. Is it a year from now? Is it a month? If it was property specific, you can literally just put commences today and ends on, even if you put a year from now, it would still cover the property. So it depends on what you put in number 1. Now, number 4 is compensation of broker. So our brokerage, you have to work for a minimum or 3%, whichever is greater. And our minimum is at least $3,000. I always, after they're out of mentoring, always prefer they go up to 5 or more, just because of it kind of makes sure that they're completely paid, no matter if it's a brokerage lead that they have to split or if it's their 80%, or if they do a lot of driving or whatever the case is, it's totally up to them. But it's a minimum of $3,000 or 3%, whichever is greater. If a buyer purchases a property or acquires the same by exchange, buyers shall pay brokerage a fee of what? At least 3% or a flat fee of $3,000, whichever is greater. The brokerage shall be paid at closing. We do not have an option fee that we go over. We don't have a rental or lease fee. We don't use a retainer fee. Any other fee would be the admin fee of $425. Buyer agrees that any contract to purchase property will request that the brokerage fee be paid from the proceeds of the transaction by the seller or the seller's broker, unless otherwise agreed in writing by buyer and broker. Buyer and broker agree that compensation from any source may not exceed the amount or rate agreed to per this agreement, which means that even if they are offering 5%, if that's more than the 3% or the $3,000, you're not agreeing to anything else. You would have to have a completely different agreement. Buyer agrees that we will also be asking the seller for all of this first and then coming back to them if the seller says no. Now, I always tell my buyers that plan for it, but also we ask for it every time. And 99% of sellers absolutely do pay agent's commission. But in the place that they're not, I like to give my buyers the opportunity, like, hey, this isn't going to be a surprise, just so you know, before we get under contract, they're not willing to pay my broker commission. So this is the amount that you would have to pay. And it would still fall under the 3% or $3,000. Now, broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. Credit buyer will receive a credit against any compensation due to broker and an amount equal to any commission provided by seller or seller's broker. Buyer agrees that by accepting as a fee part of the proceeds of the transaction from the seller or through seller's broker, the broker shall not be deemed to agent of the seller. Now, number 6, protection period. The broker shall be paid the brokerage fee if buyer or someone on buyer's behalf purchases, exchanges, or signs an option agreement for the purchase of any property within how long? Could be a month, could be 2 months, could be 6 months, just depends. From the end date of this agreement, so you are owed a commission if the broker showed the property to the buyer during the term of this agreement, or if broker negotiated with or had discussions with the seller of the property or the seller's representative during the term of this agreement. Number 7 is about prior agency. Buyer understands and acknowledges that broker shall not disclose to buyer confidential information about a property or seller that broker learned through a prior agency relationship. 8, other potential buyers. Buyer understands that other potential buyers may, through broker or agent, make offers to purchase or options to purchase the same or similar properties as buyer is seeking. The buyer consents to the representation by broker or agent of such potential buyers before, during, and after the expiration of this agreement, meaning that I can have buyers that are also interested in other properties. I just can't disclose to them anything about my clients. Broker and agent shall not disclose to buyer the material terms of any offer for a property from other buyers, nor shall broker or agent disclose to other buyers the material terms of any offer made by buyer. Seller or seller's reps are not required by law to treat existence, terms, or conditions of offer as confidential. So you, as their agent, can't say anything to either party. However, a seller definitely can. Dual agency. In the event buyer elects to view, negotiate, and or make offer on any property that is listed through the broker, then buyer understands that broker and agent are each a dual agent. That is, an agent for both the seller and buyer. Buyer recognizes that in the event of dual agency, broker and agent services will change, and that agent will not be able to disclose all known information either to the seller or buyer. As a dual agent, broker or agent will not be able to provide the full range of fiduciary duties. Number 10, scope of representation. The services of broker under this agreement shall ordinarily be those services customarily provided by real estate professionals. And this is a document we went over last week, the agency relationship document that really discusses everything that we're supposed to talk about. However, buyer agrees not to seek or rely upon advice from broker with respect to legal or tax matters, mechanical, structural, or architectural matters, environmental matters, matters of title or survey, or any other matters relating to the condition of the property they're purchasing. The broker recommends buyer consult an attorney or other competent professionals with respect to those matters, and buyer hereby releases any claim against broker related to this matter stated in this paragraph. Broker is not able to advise the buyer as to the location of any property within a floodplain or as to floodplain insurance requirements. The buyer is encouraged to visit floodsmart.gov website. So if you say, hey, is this in a flood zone? I have to actually send you that link. If once you get something under contract, they will actually charge you to look. Broker makes no representation or warranty with respect to the advisability or legal effect of the transaction contemplated by buyer. Number 11, authorization to order services. If your broker orders services on behalf of a buyer upon buyer's request, then the buyer agrees that the broker will make those contacts solely for buyer's convenience, and buyer agrees to be responsible to select the service providers, pay for, and review the results and documents that results from those contacts. Number 12 is buyer identity disclosure. Buyer hereby grants permission to broker to disclose the buyer's identity to sellers and their agents. The buyer shall have the right to withdraw this authority by written notice. 13 is buyer's financial disclosure. Buyer agrees to disclose to broker relevant personal and financial information to assure broker that buyer has the ability to complete any transaction which is the subject of this agreement. Buyer hereby grants broker the authority to disclose such information as broker deems necessary or appropriate in order to influence the decision of a seller to accept an offer from the buyer. Buyer shall have the right to withdraw this authority by written notice to the broker. Indemnification. Buyer agrees to indemnify broker and its agents and hold them harmless from any and all loss, cost, expense, damage, or claim rising out of this agreement. This indemnification shall not apply to any grossly negligent or illegal act. Buyer shall be liable to broker and its agents for any amounts expended by broker and its agents, including to but not limited to actual attorney fees, court costs in collecting or attempting to collect any part of the brokerage fee owed by buyer. notwithstanding any longer time period that would otherwise be in effect under the applicable statutes of limitations. Buyer and broker agree that any and all claims or lawsuits between the parties to this agreement must be filed no more than 6 months after the date. Consent to fees. Buyer acknowledges that broker may be offered placement fees, finder fees, and other consideration from service providers who become involved in the transaction. The buyer grants broker permission to receive such fees and or consideration as permitted by RESPA, which is the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Leasing or optioning. If you're a renter, this applies to you, leaser. Really, you're just changing the terms. So term purchase means lease, rent, or option, and the term seller means lessor, landlord, or optioner. Buyer means lessee, tenant, or optionee. So you can use this exact buyer's agreement or lease agreement for anybody looking to rent. Non-discrimination. Parties acknowledge that discrimination on the part of a real estate broker, real estate licensee, seller, or lessor because of religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, disability, familial status, marital status, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression is prohibited by law. Law ordinances may offer protection against additional discrimination. Number 18 is counterparts. This agreement may be signed by any number of counterparts with the same effect as if the signature of each counterpart were upon the same instrument. Electronic communication. The parties agree that this agreement and any amendment or modification of this agreement may be delivered by electronic mail or by fax via the contact information set forth. Any such communication shall be deemed delivered at the time it is sent or transmitted. The parties agree that the electronic signatures and initials shall be deemed to be valid and binding upon the parties as if the original signatures or initials were present in the documents in the handwriting of each party. Number 20, governing law. This agreement shall be governed by the laws of the state where the property is located. Number 21 is miscellaneous. Agreement constitutes the entire agreement between the parties. There are no oral agreements relating to the matters set forth. This agreement can be modified, amended, or canceled only if broker and buyer agree in writing. If more than one person signs below as buyer, the obligations of the buyer shall be joint and several. Any extra conditions that you guys want to put in, like an easy exit clause or something along the lines, that's where I would put this. And then acknowledgement. This agreement binds the buyer, broker, and their respective successors, estates, and heirs, contains all terms and conditions of the agreement between the parties with respect to its subject matter, and there are no representations, warranties, conditions, or promises except those expressly set forth in this agreement. The undersigned buyers represents and warrants buyers has full power and authority to enter into and perform this agreement, including the conveyance of title as is specified above. Buyer acknowledges receipt of a copy of this agreement. Now, the parties acknowledge that before signing, they have read and understand all provisions, and the buyer acknowledges reviewing the disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships, which is the document that we went over before this. They'll sign, they'll put their marital status, they'll print their names, emails, phone numbers, and then the brokerage will sign. I hope that was helpful. We'll next be going over listing agreements in our next video. And we're going to go page by page, just as we did the purchase agreement, page 1, page 2, page 3 on different days. So please tune in and let me know if there's anything else you want me to go over.